Peter Bone, if David Cameron wants these debates, why doesn't he just say, OK, I agree to what's been proposed?
Well, he does want a debate. I mean, we know
he doesn't want the debate.
No, he does want a debate. He said it time and time again.
Yeah, but he hasn't agreed to do
But the timing is ridiculous. I mean, how could you have a debate on the 30th of April when a quarter of the voters have already voted by post? That would be pointless. You need to have them earlier. And that's what the Prime Minister said. Now, it's only today that I understand Mr Miliband has agreed to it. I mean, if he was the one holding up the debates, arguing the Greens shouldn't be involved, I don't know. I mean, it's a complete mess. This should have been sorted out months ago.
So don't have election debates during the election campaign.
Look, I've been on this programme so many times, haven't I, saying I never thought these debates would happen because David Cameron doesn't want them to happen. He's never wanted them to happen. He was always going to make whatever excuse he could to wriggle out of them. First of all, it was the Greens, then it was not having...
No, you had a lot of said about the Greens.
Then it was not having them, then it was not having them in the short campaign. So we have always been completely relaxed about the format. We accepted the original format, we accepted the revised format, we've now accepted a new format. I think it's pretty obvious to the British people, here you have a Prime Minister, incredibly, who's not prepared to subject himself to these debates because he's running scared, and the British people will take their own judgment from that.
OK. Tim Shipman, I mean, who wants these debates and who's running from them in your view?
Well, Ed Miliband wants the debates and David Cameron doesn't want the debates. Exactly. But if I might be so bold as to offer a slight suggestion that the broadcasters themselves are not entirely blameless here. I wrote a story nearly a year ago saying that David Cameron would accept, you know, a debate including the Greens, and they had to be before the campaign starts. What has been presented instead are debates that will initially not feature the Greens, now do feature the Greens, 2 leaked proposals. Downing Street saying...
I do not understand this, why you can't have election debates during the election campaign.
Well, I think Peter's made a point that's valid, that, you know, postal voting will start earlier.
Yeah, but the proposal was for 3 debates, 2 of which would have taken place before postal voting.
Well, indeed, that's fine.
Which wasn't accepted.
But the broadcasters have made it too easy for David Cameron to get out of this. It has been known for over a year. He turned up at the press gallery lunch in 2012 and said, if we're going to have debates, they have to be before the campaign kicks off. And the proposals that have been put there have made it far too easy for him to get out of this. Everyone knows he wants to wriggle out of this. If he gets in a car and heads for the debates, Linton Crosby is going to stage a car crash to prevent that from happening. And yet, everything that's been presented time and time again, you know, the suggestion we've now got with 2 7-way debates and a 2-way debate, even the Lib Dems don't like that. That puts them on a par with Plaid Cymru. Farage is not happy for UKIP. Well, that's arguably the case, but they say we've been a party of government and you know, they regard themselves as grander than that. Farage wants to take place as the one guy chucking rocks from the outside.
But surely the people who matter in this are the viewing public and the voters.
Exactly.
And you, Peter Bone, you think these debates should take place for that very reason?
Oh, absolutely. You cannot, once you've started leaders' debates, and they're a good thing, you can't put them back. Yeah. The fact that we're in this mess is, I mean, 7-way debates are nonsense. What we should have had is head-to-head debates between David Cameron and Ed Miliband, had them earlier, and everyone would have been happy. How we've allowed it to get to this, and I think Tim said the media's got a bit to do with it.
I mean, as a former broadcaster, do you think the negotiators, and I hasten to add I'm not one of them, have made a mess of this?
I think the broadcasters have been very naive about the Conservatives' intentions, which were never to take part in these debates. The broadcasters should have been much tougher, but you're absolutely right. These are the people's debates, and we still do have independent broadcasters in this country. It's never been up to the politicians to dictate the format or the cast list. The broadcasters should have stuck to their guns originally, they should stick to their guns now, and if necessary, they should empty chair David Cameron.
So, Tim, I mean, whatever the rights and wrongs, do you think today's developments make the debates more or less likely?
I don't think it makes the blindest bit of difference. What will change whether they happen is whether David Cameron finds himself 8 points behind with a fortnight to go. Then you might see some debates, but at that point Ed Miliband might not want them.
You really think it's all about advantage? It's not about, I mean, we do know that the electorate are turned off politics. We do know that more than 10 million people watched them last time. I mean, surely that should come first ahead of party advantage.
Well, I mean, I've spent time, as you have, Adam, reporting from the United States. I don't think this should be in the hands of the politicians or the broadcasters. I think there should be an independent body that negotiates and says this is what we're doing, and then neither side can wriggle out of it.
But we do have independent broadcasters. Is that the politicians have got to agree to be bound by the independent body.
But, I mean, I really don't accept this premise that David Cameron does not want to debate. David Cameron, in all opinion polls, is 2/3 ahead to 1/3 for Miliband as Prime Minister. He's far better at debating. Why would he not want to do it? Of course he wants to do it.
Because he's risking that, Peter. If he goes into
but
the
he's
debate
a bold
with
Prime Minister.
Look at Prime Minister's questions. You know, any fair observer would say that, you know, if you're giving the advantage to Cameron, he wins 3 weeks out of 5. You know, he might turn up and have a bad day. You know, he didn't do brilliantly well in the first debate last time. That actually probably prevented him from getting a majority. Ed Miliband is a perfectly good debater, and expectations of him are so very low that if he turns up and doesn't fall flat on his face, then that argument that you're advancing, that the Conservatives have a better leader, is gone.
But that's why they should take place.
I mean, could it be that Ed Miliband has nothing to lose, and if he was further ahead, he wouldn't want to debate, as Tony Blair indeed
well, no, I think the precedent was set last time, and it's very difficult, as everyone has acknowledged, to put the clock back. But
David Cameron seems to be managing
well, he's
it.
trying, but we do have independent broadcasters in this country. We have, thank God, unlike in Russia, independent broadcasters who should be standing firm. And Tim, the implication of what Tim has said about, well, Cameron would do it if he was 8 points behind, implies that everything he said about, I want these debates to happen.
About politics? Why can't it not be that the 30th of April is the wrong date after 25% of voting?
Everything he said in Parliament about wanting to do them has not been true. He's never wanted to do them.
Well, all right, Tim, if it comes to it, and we don't get an agreement this side of the start of the election campaign, what do you think the broadcasters should do? Should they say, OK, we accept we've been beaten at this one, debate's off? Or should they say, we will go ahead and stage these 3 scheduled debates 2 weeks apart from the beginning of April to the end, irrespective of whether Cameron turns up?
My personal view would be that the 7-way debates could go ahead as 6-way debates, and that would still be interesting for the public. Unfortunately, a 2-way debate without one of the people is not a debate, it's an interview. So
what do you think? If they don't get agreement, should they go ahead or not?
Well, we should get agreement that should be earlier, and the Prime Minister and Ed Miliband should debate earlier. It's as simple as that.
Absolutely. The broadcaster should put a chair there with a teddy bear on it and say, this is where the Prime Minister should be, but he's for it.
OK, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much indeed.